Ah, I figured out what the hell I did. Steve, it's because a couple of weeks ago, I forgot I had a live mic. And so I got really, really smart where I decided to mute the mic on the page that has me until I came live. You know, Having a checklist would be a smart idea. I do that when I'm traveling. I have an extended checklist from hell because if I don't get it together, it's going to be a complete disaster. Kind of like today. It's a good thing I can download this stuff and edit later. So, let's see. Jesus Christ, I got windows everywhere. What's new? Okay, let me start to communicate with the human race. I think I'd like that. Hello, James. Please tell me there is audio now. I see the mic. I see the signal happening. Yeah, it's times like this I go, why am I even doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? It's kind of like when I used to start the show with Flight of the Bumblebee. After a couple of years of doing that, I thought, why am I doing this? Yes, I did print out your questions, madam. Somebody asked me the other day to talk about the history tour. Honestly, all the tours are the same to me, except the bad tours stands out. But dangerous and history kind of blend in my mind. So unless you have a specific question, I can't help you. Thanks, Jenny. 1212 check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's good to be heard because I bet there's not many of you that are lip readers, are ya? Okay, some questions here. What first got me into music? I think the very first thing was my dad because he was such a music lover. He would always have music playing when he was home from work, which often was next door because he was a doctor that had an office in our house. He would always have jazz playing. He had thousands of jazz records. And he passed away, I don't know how many years ago now, but I could not let his CDs go. And so I have a buttload of jazz CDs I never listened to. So I think maybe at some point I should donate that to a college or something. I can actually see your stuff on Instagram, but there's a whole lot of chats coming to me at way different angles. I got chat over here, I got chat there, and I got my iPad set up this time. I think it's actually overload. I'm going to go here for most of them. Okay. So that's what got me into music. What got me into guitar was my sister had a guitar and I didn't. That pissed me right off. So when I was 8 years old, I think I begged my parents for a guitar, and I ended up with one for Christmas, or it was Christmas. Yeah, I have pictures unwrapping, and it was a killer electric guitar. I couldn't tell you what brand it was, but I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and I couldn't play a thing, but I strapped that on and walked around the neighborhood posing with it. Okay. Who inspired me to create music? Boy, I think that's a combination of everybody I ever listened to. I remember my first record that was mine, mine, I want one of my own, was The Singing Nuns. Dominico, Nico, Nico, la, 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 la. That's how hip I was. And then I started listening to pop radio, and my sisters were really into Motown. And at one point, they did an intervention to get me a little hipper than I was. And at that point, it wasn't Motown, but they got me a Crosby, Stills, and Nash record. And also a Cat Stevens. So I was hip for the day. And then I just got into all kinds of different music. Boy, I tell you, you'd love to hear me do a jazz track. I wouldn't. Well, if you want to hear me do a jazz track, check out Giant Steps. I did that on my first record. I did kind of a jazz spoof where I played an archtop guitar and I did John Coltrane's solo. And then I did this tapping solo. And in the meantime, there's the police that, well, it's a whole other story. You're just going to have to listen to it. It's on iTunes. Giant Steps Part 1 and Part 2. T for the Tillerman. You know what? Oh, this was a classic Christmas story where my sister's boyfriend at the time, I think, is the one that bought me the Cat Stevens record. And he stupidly asked me what I thought of Cat Stevens. And at the time I go, nah, I'm not really into him. But he had already bought the record, right? So he got the wrong answer. But when I started listening to it, I really, really got into him. And in fact, I saw him live with some friends that were Uber fans, that were such Uber fans, they embarrassed the living shit out of me, screaming and throwing flowers on the stage. Carl O'Reilly, cheers from Denver, the Mile High City. Boy, I bet the smog is really a different scene there right now. That's one thing. I mean, people don't know Denver's kind of like a bowl, and a lot of industry and cars run through there, so it's usually a smog bowl. Hello from Switzerland, beautiful Switzerland. Are you Geneva area, Basel, Zurich? The Italian section, the French section, the German section. I had a great time running all over Switzerland. Dominique, let me jump over to YouTube. My sound is muted on YouTube. Jesus. I can't explain that because I'm going through OBS. The mic is hitting and damn it. Well, if I were you, I wouldn't stick around. What I will do is download this video when I'm done and edit the sad intro and post it up on YouTube. People are commenting anyway. I have no idea how to fix that. That's super poopy. Did I get bullied as a child for being transgender? Oh, thanks a pant load. I'm not transgender, you little bastard. I was wondering when the punks would start to show up. Can you record playing Billie Jean? Nah, that's already been done. A lot of people did a great job of that. Thriller, the Thriller with the wah effect. That's called an envelope filter, where it's an automatic wah-wah. When you use pressure on the strings, it opens up a filter that's like a wah, but you don't need your foot to do that. Love from Philly. You can, see? Thank you. You can hear on YouTube, Mr. And somebody says they can't. Well, I'm thinking it's your computer. If somebody can hear me and other people can't, you know, there is a speaker on YouTube. If you click that, you can mute or make it live. Well, that took a little tiny piece of sweat off me. My last, yesterday, no, it was Monday, I released another of my story episode of, okay, so this one time, okay. And digging deeper into the scrapbooks. I mean, I haven't even scratched the surface, but I'm passing on hundreds of photos that, unless I look at a photo that automatically has a story and brings back a memory for me, I usually pass it up. And boy, the living room looks like crap. It's just got crap everywhere. I got scrapbooks under my feet. I got scrapbooks on the couch. Poor dogs don't know where to sit. Was there ever an oh crap moment on a big gig? Sure. Yep. I think, boy, see, the Dangerous Tour and the History Tour just all blend together for me. It was one of those tours where Billy Sheehan and Paul Gilbert were out in the audience, and it's the only time that I ever ran out to the front to do a solo and I broke a string. And if any you guitar players know, if you have a Floyd Rose tremolo system that's built to balance, if you break a string, the bridge does that, and everything goes out of tune. So I probably went into a harmonic solo, just like a theremin, just get one note ringing and pull the bar. I've had many oh crap moments on gigs. Yeah, there's been all kinds of disasters. The no sound thing. That's fun. When I do my solo show, I often have somebody hit the space bar, which starts the videos because I have a video intro, and then at some point I come out. And the people that have their responsibilities sometimes get so nervous, like, I have to start the show with a button push, and they'll hit it really quick and run away, and it didn't do anything. So sometimes I just walk out there laughing and do it myself and go backstage till it's my time. Have I tried Kratom instead of CBD? Yeah, I did try Kratom. I didn't feel anything from it. If people don't know, Kratom is or kratom, I don't know how it's pronounced. It's a plant, I think, out of Southeast Asia that's a natural painkiller. Uh, yeah, it didn't work for me, but a lot of people swear by it. And also, a lot of people are getting off of opioids using a natural substance that has no side effects. And, the feds were trying to shut it down because they'd rather sell opium or opioids. But you can get it. I don't know if you can get it in every state, actually. It's fine on yet. My favorite tour of Michael, definitely the Bad Tour for sure. Because the Bad Tour, it was new for everybody. Playing his music was new. He was at the top of the game. I was making more money than I ever made in my life, and it was just being all socked away, being wired back home while I was on the road. Plus, we got per diem. I was a fan of his music anyway, so it was a gas. I mean, just getting to see the world. I mean, most people, if they're going to travel, traveling is very expensive. You got to pay for hotels and transport and food, and it's just crazy money. But just the fact that I was able to see the world, and I only played 2 or 3 days a week. We only did a few shows a week. I had plenty of time to just hang out and discover where I was, whether that was Dallas or New York City or Rome. And it's kind of funny, once we got, on the Bad Tour, we started in Japan. Then I think we did Australia, because that's kind of relatively close. We might have done the arenas in America in the winter, and then we went to Europe. And after seeing all this amazing stuff all over Europe and the really old buildings compared to the buildings in America, it was just such a gas and just so mind-blowing that when I got back to America, I remember we were in Washington, D.C., and I could have gone to the Washington Mall, but I was like, meh, I need something vintage. I need something older than a couple hundred years. Did I ever use a Kaler? I did, long time ago when the whole tremolo thing started to take off. I had it on a guitar. I don't even remember if I liked it or not. But apparently I liked the Floyd better. History Tour was in Basel, Black or White. You and Michael tumble into each other. Yeah, somebody mentioned that yesterday, I think. Love watching both of your faces, both giggling. Yeah, if you're going to be on stage, you might as well have some fun. And boy, there's that's live. That's why, part of why people get nervous before they go live, because anything could happen. I remember early on, I was in a no-name band in LA, and some punks were throwing things at us. And I remember I got hit right on my lip, and my lip blew up. I always love to connect with music fans. It helped you get off of opioids. Right on. Maybe I'd send you some Bali and green. Yeah, I'm going to pass on that. Which, the most difficult music to play on the guitar? All music. No, you know what? Somebody gave me some sheet music. I'm supposed to do a session that's Chopin or some classical stuff that's just kind of not in my wheelhouse. And I started learning it. And I know you can take things by small chunks, and eventually the synapses in the brain will wire and you can bring it up to speed. But there's some rhythms in there I'm going like, oh, Jesus, I don't know about that. So it's just been kind of collecting dust on my music stand. I'm not sure if I want to call them up and say, you got the wrong person, or see if he's actually got an audio, because if I hear it, it's a lot easier to make sense of it. Whose idea was the exploding foam cabs on the history tour at the end of Black or White? Most of the ideas from the tour are from Michael. He wanted things to just surprise people all the time. Explosions. I mean, even down to the way that every performer looked. There was a lot of effort that went into that. As even me, I started out with this nerd look with glasses, and to carve me into this Amazon that looked like Wendy O. Williams, that took some work, but I clean up real good. Boy, I think by the time I do the next live, I will have gone to the hairdresser. I'll take those 3 colors and get it down to 2. And I notice I got this wavy ass thing happening on one side. Is what it is, productions. Okay, over to YouTube. My favorite tour, definitely the Bad Tour. Thanks for doing this. It brings it a bit closer to Michael. You're from Sao Paulo. Oh, stay safe down there. Good Lord. Yeah, I was down there last year with Rodrigo Teaser. I was down there a couple times in the last year. I was down there for washburn clinics too. One of the reps had the whole territory of Mexico and Central and South America, and he brought me down there several times. It was great. I love it. I remember one time I was in Costa Rica, and man, after the clinic, we went to this coffee plantation. We were drinking wine up on this mountain in nature and looking down on the city. I have some great memories like that. Mostly it's just grueling, kick-ass, get in the van, get out of the van, play, sleep, kick-ass, start over the next day. But there have been some wonderful times. Live in New York City. Wish you have a chance to see you playing. Yeah, well, that's not going to happen. But Rodrigo Teaser, I was supposed to play with him in New York in, I think, the end of March. And obviously the whole COVID thing happened and everything got canceled. But I think they will be back. A lot of people are not canceling. They're just postponing to when it's safe. A chance of me playing with Jeff Beck again. I doubt it. He actually did call me to play a couple of years ago in LA. They were doing some kind of big anniversary thing, and that whole thing fell apart because they had a bunch of special guests, and he realized there wouldn't be enough time for everybody. But it was a wonderful time in history, and you move on. I'm getting pretty burnt on travel anyway. Your story time. You're dangled upside down on stage. How the heck did I do that? Yeah. I looked at the analytics of the YouTube analytics are amazing. You can see exactly what people dig, what they don't dig, how long they're staying. And for these Facebook Live things, the average person lasts 7 minutes. Guess I'm not that entertaining. No, I actually don't take it personally because it's the same for everybody, for every video. If you last 40%, you're doing good. I actually got 50, 60% on the last storytelling thing. So if anybody's checking in right now and you don't know, I have on my YouTube channel a couple new playlists. And one is called K, So This One Time, okay? And I tell stories behind the scenes of Michael Jackson and other tours and all my whack-ass travels around the world. And I drop them on Mondays. I used to hate that term, drop. Yeah, my new record dropped. My new record's gonna drop on Tuesday. It doesn't drop, it's released. When did released get replaced with dropped? And now I'm saying it. I would just want to flip me off. I was in the 30th anniversary of Michael. I don't think so. I don't even know what that was. Was that, he did something with Slash in New York. I got overridden by a top hat. Go figure. You're working on any new material currently? Any new collaborations? Well, if Facebook hadn't crashed, you would have seen a promo for a song I did that was the last release with Roman Miroshnichenko of Moscow. Badass burning player. And we have a song we just released a week or two ago on Bandcamp. And I'll put the link up again today on my Facebook pages. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I finally got smart. See, I need hours. I need hours on my YouTube uh, channel, viewing hours, so I can monetize. And when I started, I think I was almost 3,000 hours away from the 4,000. Now it's 1,800 hours away. So the lives help a lot. But as soon as this is done, I'm gonna carve it out and edit the front and send it over to YouTube. So you gotta jump over there to see it. And I completely, oh, the collaboration. Yeah, people are sending me tracks all the time. If you want me to play on a track, just click contact on jenniferbatten.com and we'll see how that goes. Just don't send me any hard classical music because I'm going to procrastinate. That's how that is. How does Jeff Beck tap so well during songs like Big Block? How does he do everything so well? He's a magical dude. He's got the weirdest guitar setup on earth where his normally bridges are perfectly horizontal, parallel to the guitar, and his is cocked up a little bit like this because it allows him to pull the bar up because he'll play melodies with harmonics, and it's just a very strange setup. It's kind of uncomfortable to me, but he just does miraculous things. That's his thing. That's part of being a guitar god that he is, that most guitar players look up to. Just he's connected to a whole other universe. What am I talking a little about the production of Above, Below, and Beyond? It has its own sound. Yeah, my debut record, as most people's debut, was a bit traumatic. And it was produced by Michael Sembello, who's the guy that wrote She's a Maniac, Maniac for the Flashdance movie. And at that time, he had, God, I think the thing was at least $250,000, one of the first digital multi-tracks, maybe 32 tracks, this giant machine. He was paying a ridiculous amount of lease payments for it. And, you know, I was really new to recording at the time. And the best thing about those sessions were that he taught me how to punch in. And, you know, he would check in every once in a while, see how I was doing, and then he would just go away and leave me to it. And I really dug that. I really dug just getting into the quiet space of what I wanted to do. And then when ADATs came in, it was all over. I didn't need the studio. I just needed my garage. And I got one ADAT and two ADATs. And I think I ended up with at least three. And it's kind of funny to look back in history because the ADAT, for people that never worked with them, if you had two machines or three or four, you would set a point where you wanted to do the punch in, and the whole thing would roll back one at a time. It would take forever. And once it was synced up again, then you'd hit go and could record. Unlike the digital world that we have today where, you know, you don't have to wait for anything. You just hit a point and bam, it's back there. You do it 500 times and you're good to go. The thing I don't really dig about that record is we did record a lot of acoustic drums, and Sembello put it through some machine that turned it into like a MIDI signal so he could use different sounds in it, so it sounds like a drum machine, even though most of it was a drummer playing. I didn't win many, if any, arguments during that record. So the next record that I did, Tribal Rage, with Ricky Walking and Glenn Sobel, who's now playing with Alice Cooper, that was total freedom because I had the ADATs in the garage. I could record anytime I wanted. And part of the Sembello thing was he had another project happening at the same time, which was Rico Suave Gerardo, one of the first big Latin rappers. And so that guy had a budget that was 10 times my budget, and he got the daylight hours. and I rarely started before midnight, and often it was 2 or 3 in the morning, and I just hated it. So, your biorhythms just change during the day, and at some point you're really pumped and you're used to that, and your brain is firing great in the middle of the night. For me, sometimes in a full moon it can be great, and I can go all night long. But for the most part, I hated it. The Cher Batten record. Any plans for a second? You find us an investor, and we'll be glad to record it. That's how that goes. It is not cheap, and actually, we did get a deal. We recorded that in Chicago at Jim Peterick's studio, beautiful studio. Jim Peterick was in the band Survivor and wrote "Eye of the Tiger" and a lot of other hits. Has a bunch of Grammys, and has the most whack-ass guitars you'll ever see. I mean, it's like a beautiful guitar museum just walking around there, and he's got every amp in the world. It's gorgeous, gorgeous, just gorgeous. I don't collect guitars because I don't like to change strings. That's how that goes. You had tickets for a tribute show in New York City with you and Rodrigo. Yeah, the Apollo Theater. I've never played the Apollo. I hope I do get to do that. Have I tried a Paul Reed Smith? Yeah, I've tried them several times over the years. It just doesn't resonate with me. After many years of trying so many guitars, you try to custom and stop looking. Yep, well, some people love them and never want to change. I'm not one of them. You really enjoyed ISO Boogie. Well, thank you. Thanks for checking that out. Yeah, Roman brought me to Moscow a couple years ago, 2018, to do a wonderful festival. There was so many great players on it. We played in this big theater. It's an annual guitar festival. And the hang afterwards was wonderful. Just, boy, that just set me off on a whole other thought pattern, because I love to hang out with other musicians from around the world, especially musicians from completely different cultures, and the insights. I remember, in fact, it's in one of my playlists, the vlogs, in my YouTube channel, YouTube/C/Jennifer Batten 1. It's called Tour Vlogs, and you'll see on that trip in 2018, some of us hanging out backstage, and there was another guitar player that studied tabla. And I just love when people can do, I think when you learn tabla, you have to first learn it with your voice, or perhaps simultaneously. And this guy had it down. It was like ding, 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 ding. I can't begin to do it, but that guy, very, very intense. Did I hear what Alice Cooper said about Jeff Beck? On what made his opinion on Jeff being the world's greatest guitar player? No, I didn't. I'll have to look that up. Oh, okay, part 2. He said when his band opened for the Yardbirds, Yardbirds in 1966, he saw him talking to some guy while performing, and he grabs the guitar by the neck and does perfect triplets while the guitar was feeding back. I have no doubt about that. Jeff, see now, there's a difference. It's like there was a statement about the dancer Nijinsky, how some people dance, Nijinsky was the dance. And that's how I think of Jeff. The rest of us play guitar, play music with guitar, and Jeff is music. He's so directly connected. Not 100% of the time, but I would say 95. He can pull it out of nowhere, and it's very inspiring. In fact, I was telling a story. I think it was I did a thing with an Australian podcaster the other day, and we were talking about Jeff, and I might have talked about this on Facebook Live before, but we kind of got into this thing with whoopee cushions and doing arm farts, and it just escalated into the most ridiculous stuff you can imagine, to the point where I got us all including the roadies, got these plastic cups of putty where you could put your fingers in it, and it was 100% success. Every time you put your fingers down and twisted it, you go, and you kept going because the next sound could be better. Anyway, so Jeff took a whoopee cushion on the bus one time, filled it up, and started playing the melody to "'Cause We Ended as Lovers." And it's like a balloon, you let the air out of a balloon, and you get this really high pitched sound. But he would go, and complete with vibrato, he'd go, who does that? Jeff does that. And another time, I remember somebody had gifted him, I don't think it was a pedal steel. I think it was a lap steel, but my memory is it was on a stand. Maybe it was a pedal steel. And he just, those are in completely different tunings. And he just walked up to it, put a slide on it, and started making music. Me, I would run away from it. Jenny Lee got the ISO boogie. You shared it on your page. Thanks for doing that. John Macaluso turned me on to you. You kick serious ass. So does John. John is so fun. He's one of my favorite musicians ever. We've been. It's very late for Italy. He's living in Rome now, but I've had quite a few late night Zoom parties where everybody gets their cocktail and just starts talking crap. And John joined in a few times. He's so funny. He's just one-liner after another. I did a tour with him, was it last year? I get, the years just kind of spin by. And Giacomo Chiaretti, we had a blast. It was just the ultimate trio. We did Black Market by Weather Report. It's one of my favorite songs, favorite bands. And we went all over the map. We did Hot for Teacher too, which that is not easy. It's to get that really solid and fat and grooving is not easy, but it's a challenge. Okay, are you thinking of doing something or touring with Mohini Day? She scares me. I think she's way beyond my brain cells. Actually, you never know. Our paths could cross at some point. Okay, back to Jenny's questions. What is my creative process like? When I write songs, it's mostly jamming. It starts with jamming. Maybe an hour of jamming with a great drum track or something, and then eventually something happens where it's kind of a meditation, where you're just really into what you're doing, and if it's going right, then time just kind of passes and you're not aware of it. You could go for 3 hours and go, how did it become 5 o'clock? I just sat down at 1 o'clock, And when you keep going, eventually, usually there's some stream of consciousness where new stuff starts happening, where you permutate things that you already know or play the same old stuff you always play, but in a new way, new rhythm, new ideas, new part of the neck. And when something comes out that seems like a great melody, I'll make note of it. And the way I did most of my records was to just start jamming, and I either end up with a cool groove I want to work with or a cool melody, and then add the groove, then add the bass, and eventually just completely replace the drums. That's how that works. But it can come all kinds of ways. You never know what's going to trigger creativity. I mentioned this before. I went and saw Joe Satriani one time, and the very last song that they did, Jonathan Mover, the drummer, was playing double kick. Just a really powerful sound, and that's what I walked away with. So the very next song I did, double kick, was the theme, and that turned into a song called Headbangers Hairspray. It's all about the joking now. When this pandemic is over, I hope to see you here in Portland. Michael, thanks for stopping by. I do have a couple gigs. It's a miracle. I didn't think I'd be playing for another year, but I have 2 gigs coming up. One, you have to look at my jenniferbatten.com calendar because I can't remember numbers. One is in July, I think. Could be late June. I better figure that out before the date comes, huh? I got to get practicing. Um, so one is going to be at the Pioneer Chapel in Canby, and because of the rules around here, there's only 25 people maximum. And because there's so few people, they got to charge $50, but that does include food. And it's going to be outside under a tent where people can be really distanced from each other. It's going to be a weird vibe for me, but I'm happy to get out there and play. And another one I found is still happening is at Trinity Vineyards, and that's going to be in August. Outdoors again. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. So there, you got 2 chances to see me. If Canby is sold out, I think Trinity, I don't, he said he expects things to open up to phase 2 by then. So if they can have more people, maybe 50 people or something, then y'all can be spread out on this gorgeous, gorgeous property surrounded by vineyards. It's pretty wonderful. Steve, when will you get another JB Cookery Kitchen video soon? I've been thinking about it a lot. I have this Thai soup I make that lasts a good week and a half. And yeah, that was kind of fun to do that. Plus, I need to correct myself. I said that, I read that carrots are bad for dogs, but carrots are bad for dogs that have UTIs, not just dogs in general that are healthy. Okay, I gotta jump over to YouTube. YouTube's actually a lot harder for me to see because it's white print on black. Okay, intend to post videos playing Michael's songs. Is that a question? I don't know. Michael's songs, it's a pretty high bar. And I could put them out just as they are. She said do. I do a multimedia show, and I have a 13-minute medley of some of the stuff that I like, and I do Dirty Diana. I've made a film for that as well. As far as posting it up, I don't know. Before I forget, I did promise, I'm going to break a promise, that I would break down the Beat It solo today. And I had a little bit of a trauma finding things. I've got a studio in another room where things are all set up, but the lighting out here is better. So I brought a speaker out and I brought my gear out, and there was 2 items I couldn't find. That's how it rolls in my house. I mean, goddamn, if I had 2 kids, I would have thrown them off a bridge by now because I would have thought that they lose everything I'm looking for. But it's me. I lose everything I'm looking for constantly. I was going to throw up a room mic. And what else was I missing? I don't know. So what I'm going to do instead, in case anybody here has shown up to see the Van Halen solo broken down, I will record it in the next 24 hours and put it up on YouTube and announce it on Facebook. And I did get to play that for Eddie one time, which, no pressure. It was a wonderful encounter. And he put his 5150 Strat on me. I don't know if people know this. Guitar nerds all know it. 5150 is police code for a crazy person. That's where he came up with that, calling his studio 5150 studio. And I guess his guitar was called that as well. Have I ever encountered crazy fans, stalkers, or could you tell me any fun stories? Yeah, I had a stalker. It ain't no joke. There's some crazy ass people out there. And those are the ones that are throwing bricks through windows right now. So many peaceful protesters, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. Because this is diversion from the news. You get to watch me talk about nothing. and everything, like the Seinfeld show. How do I order from Neck Illusions properly? Go to neckillusions.com. Do I have, yeah, hold on. For people that don't know, I'll show you what that is. I'm not sure. I've got several different views. This is for Instagram. Neck Illusions are stickers that you can put on your guitar, and you can, oh boy, they got so many different patterns to choose from. Just scroll through all the patterns that they have, and they have several artists. Steve Vai is one of them that's drawn different patterns. And you can also order custom stuff. And you write to them once you either find something you like, or if you have your own idea in mind, write to them, and they're going to want to know what scale neck you have. If you have 22 fret, 24 fret, if it's a Gibson scale or a Fender scale or PRS, and they will adjust for that. And it's an amazing material because it's not a kind of sticker that you, when you pull it off, it's going to leave residue. I don't understand how they figured this out, but for instance, I'll put one down, and if I don't place it quite how I want it, I'll just peel it off again and put it back on again, and it's very resilient. I've had that sticker on there for probably the better part of a year. I had some beautiful art on there, and I found, boy, if the lighting isn't right, if you have a really intricate pattern, it can be a real challenge to play. So I stick with the ones that the pattern is actually on the fret markers. If I could sit down and jam with any player on the planet right now, who would it be? Brad Paisley. He's my current guitar hero and has been for a while. Just because, you know, the whole country thing is a vocabulary I don't have. And so it sounds really fresh to my ears. Preston Reed is another one, wonderful acoustic tapper. And our paths have crossed several times. I almost got to see him, and that it didn't work for some reason. Ben Jones says Neck Illusions is the truth. Ben Jones is playing bass in my band and every band in town. Badass mofo, I tell you. Super talented dude with big ears. And he's the theme of my band in town is steampunk. So we both have gears and steampunk kind of graphics on our instruments. And Ben, I saw a little bit of you playing the other night, and I was surprised you used that bass for that gig, because I thought you had that bass tuned down, because for everybody that's not in the inner circle here, the singer Pat Yaden, who is a wonderful singer, would like us all to turn down a half step, so we have instruments set up just for that. The first song I learned to play, and can I still play it? You know what? My dad showed me the melody to a Chico Hamilton song called Forest Flower. And I could probably play it if I picked it up, but I'm not going to. Bluegrass. Oh, that's another thing. Oh, there's some monstrous bluegrass players out there with chops for days. Yeah, you can spend a whole lifetime learning all these different genres. And I stick with what I don't completely suck at. Would it work better to see if we capitalize our sentences? Actually, that does. Yeah. Just don't write a novel. Sometimes, man, when I get instant messages and I see it's a novel that goes on forever, I just like, don't do that to me. I don't know if I officially have ADD, but I do have a very short attention span. Michael Jackson, They Don't Care About Us, Brazil version video just hit 700 million views. Wow. See, now that's some music that resonates with the entire universe. There's some magic sauce in there, starting with the baddest grooves on earth. Much love from Sweden. Boy, I haven't heard about Sweden lately. I know your lockdown was a whole different thing, like it wasn't. So I don't know if your COVID numbers are the same as ours now or how that worked, but I do think about you from time to time. In fact, when I was in Sweden for the first time, I'll always remember that because it was pretty magical. It was in July on the Bad tour, and I remember I don't know if I was jet lagged, but I was awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. I looked out the window and it's daylight in July. You look out the window and it's blue skies. It's not like noon, but it's blue skies. And I remember going from Rome, where you look out and there's a lot of black hair and brown hair. Then you go to Sweden and it's like a sea of blondes. That was a stunning revelation. They Don't Care About Us Brazil version. I'll have to look that up. The first riff you learned was Beat It, but with the open G and not the D string 5th fret. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. You know what? That reminds me. I've downloaded that backing track for various reasons over the years, and there was one karaoke that I downloaded that I must not have been able to hear it before I downloaded it. It's like da 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 da. There's only 5 notes in the melody, and they got 2 of them wrong, and they were selling it to people. I was absolutely appalled. Neck illusions, bluegrass. Okay, back to these preguntas, por favor. Who would I like most to collaborate with? Yeah, Peter Gabriel too. I mean, he's one of the top guys. That So record is so amazing. Still holds up. In fact, I learned In Your Eyes recently. And I play the melody with harmonics. I want to start uploading some playthroughs for the Riff Kitchen. You know, the Riff Kitchen started off as riffs and just playing a riff fast and slow and breaking it down and talking about what arpeggios in it or what scales it comes from and what you play it over. And then I went to blues turnarounds for 5 or 6 episodes. But I'm teaching a student Robin Ford's North Carolina solo right now. It's one of my favorite all-time solos. It's super zen, super simple, and super wonderful. And so I'm relearning it, and I think I might just put that up there and break it down. Break it down. If I could open a show for any artist, who would it be? Boy, there's so many of them that are dead now. Might have to wait till the next life. See, Jenny, I don't look at these beforehand, and you're asking some questions that make my hair hurt. I'm just gonna have to put a note on that and get back to you. I don't know. I'm thinking, who do I dig right now? There's so much music out there, especially now. You know, something that came to mind was Halsey. I really love her voice. But my stuff would be wrong sauce for a double bill on that. Maybe Katie Tunstall. I really admire her. I mean, she's got such a beautiful voice. And if you haven't heard, you can check out, she did the Royal Albert Hall is doing a series called Royal Albert Home, where they're doing concerts and trying to get donations. Imogen Heap, I just saw hers yesterday. It was very creative. She's a very, very creative individual, one of my top 10. Imogen Heap. But Katie Tunstall is, you know, she's a singer-songwriter. Her voice, I don't think she hit one sharp or flat note the entire time. Like, perfect, right on the money. Very creative. I was hoping that she would have done some looper stuff because she's so good at that, but it was just her and guitar. And some of those songs, I'm thinking I might want to cover one or two, because some of those songs, she'll go into these harmonies that take your head and go, whoa, I didn't see that coming. Whoa, there's another key right there. That's very, very creative. You know, this short attention span I have, if you stay in the same key and it's like very samey, I'm out of there. Because pretty much once you heard the verse and chorus, you're done. It just repeats the same crap over and over again. That's my attitude all these years later of listening to thousands and thousands of hours of music. How did you do the car siren sound in Dirty Diana? You know what? That on the record was a plastic toy laser gun that Steve Stevens had. And he took the gun and hit one of the modes for the sound and put it next to his pickups because a pickup will pick that up. And I did not have access to a toy laser gun, so they sampled it and had it in this thing called a synclavier. So we worked it out so that I would take the guitar neck and do this. And that was the signal for the guy to trigger that sound. I found out weeks or months later that the front of house sound engineer thought the sound was annoying, so he just muted it. So I just looked like an idiot going like that and not playing anything. Thanks a pant load. What's your name? See, I don't remember your name. Love to see you do an album with Stuart Copeland. Yeah. He's great. The police were great. It's one of my favorites. It's one of the only shows I ever showed up to without a ticket, hoping I would get in, and I did. Yeah, Michael, tell Katie she needs to know me. In fact, she was supposed to come through town like this month, I think. Rodrigo Teaser is identical to Michael. The voice is impressive. It seems like Michael's voice. Seeing you performing Beat It with him was really exciting. Cool. Yeah, he does a good job. And it's kind of cool, too, because he's working on a solo career. I don't know if he's got a full album out, but at the end of our shows, he would do an original song and take off the costumes, just come out in a T-shirt. And I thought that was a cool angle that I haven't seen in any other tribute. So it's a kind of a bonus track. I have to look that up, the siren samples in my keyboards. Yeah, you can never be too rich or have too many computers. Not. Okay, over to YouTube now. Sorry, Instagram, it's just overload, and I can't really see what you're saying there. If you want me to respond to your chats, I'll probably only be on for another 10 minutes. But I'm on my Facebook band page, which is, God, I think it's Jennifer Batten 1. I don't know. I just can't keep this stuff straight. I need a secretary. Mommy, my hair's too tight. Let's see. They don't care. Okay, not a lot going on over there in the YouTube land. Daniel from Hungary. That's a long way from here. You know what? As soon as I hear Hungary, I remember I did, might have been Ibanez Clinic years ago or Digitech, and the people that owned the store took me out to dinner afterwards. And there is an appetizer that you guys serve in the summer that's like cherry soup, cold cherry soup. I remember that. There's some oddball foods from around the world that you only see in certain places. It was kind of like starting out with dessert. Can you share memories about the history tour rehearsal? Yeah, maybe songs that were rehearsed and cut out. Actually, honestly, Dangerous Tour and History Tour are just one big blur to me. I do remember we worked on Remember the Time. And I don't think we ever played that live. I'm sure the fans are going to go, yes, you did. It was in Rome in 19 blah, blah, blah. I do remember they made skirts for all the dancers, and Randy Allaire was dancing and his came off. I don't think that's the reason that Michael nixed it. But, yeah, we actually learned a lot of songs that we didn't play live. And I haven't looked at those videos in many years, and it's all a blur. There's only so much room in the gray matter. And, when your hard drive is full, when your phone is full, you got to take all the pictures off so you have room for more. That's how my brain works. So I don't quite remember that. Oh, okay. I got this for you. I was thinking about this last night. I think you planted a seed a couple days ago with that. I remember at rehearsals, there we ended up with two different musical directors, and the first one didn't work out, and I can't remember his name, but it was we were all really depressed because this guy was treating Michael's songs like they were demos and having us do all of these different arrangements to them that we knew Michael was not going to dig because Michael wanted people to be familiar with the stuff. He didn't change the songs that much other than the tempo or breaking them open for dance, but to treat them like a demo and do a whole new treatment, you don't do that, at least not without checking with the boss. And so the rest of us are just going, oh God, we're wasting our time with this day after day. And it was kind of a downer for a couple of weeks, but then everything changed as it needed to, and the energy picked up, and then we took off. There's a history story. Instagram does not want you to go past an hour. They just like, later, download the video. Nah, I'll get it from Facebook. Okay. Lots of blondes in Sweden. Yep. Oh, I'm not going to repeat that, but thank you. George Floyd manifestation just got out of control. It's Stockholm. Wow. They breached the 50-person maximum event limit and will face charges. You know, it resonates with the world. People want to get together. They want to be a community. I think love trumps hate. And boy, that video just broke so many hearts around the world. You know, it's part of the revolution. I mean, there's a lot of people peaceful protesting. Some gangsters are jumping in and looting places and setting cop cars on fire. That doesn't do anybody any good. But it sure makes the world take notice. Yeah, I just can't even go down that. That's why I postponed this Facebook Live for a day to honor Blackout Tuesday, because it was a worthy thing to have people step back and go, what the hell is going on, and what kind of world do we want? In fact, I saw a beautiful post by Maria Shriver, who was, what is she, the niece or grandniece of John F. Kennedy, and he was giving a speech in the 60s that resonated today. You know, this world is for all people, for all religions, and I think I'm going to cut it up and put the best part out later today on Facebook, because it's something that'll take you back quite a few decades. And you know, just when we think we've come to a new place of love, there's some people that don't want to know about it. All right, yes, we in Hungary like these fruit soups. So there are other fruits that you put in soup. That's interesting. You know, one of my favorite soups of all time is, what do they call it? The cold tomato soup that's a little bit spicy. Oh my God. I remember I was at some event where they had these little little glasses full of that stuff, and I kept going back and amazing. I tried to make it at home and it was a complete failure. Maybe I could do that for a cooking show. The name escapes me and will come right to me as soon as I hang up on y'all. Sacramento. You know, the guy that covered me with bees for the Flight of the Bumblebee video is from Sacramento. And last time I went down there, my buddy Jesse Solomon and I that toured America in the RV, we were driving all day, drove over the mountain pass, and as we were getting to my buddy's house, we were about 5 miles away, and the motorhome just took a dump. just, it sounded like we blew a tire, but it was a spark plug. And it was out of commission for a good, only about 24 hours really. But I had a gig the next day, so I had to rent a car and move all the gear into another thing. That's a drag, man. The things that can happen on the road. In fact, the bass player that was in the band for my record called Momentum, Ricky Walking, he was in another band after that, and they took their advance from the record company that was, I don't know, I want to say 15, 20 grand, I don't remember. But they took it and bought a used motorhome, and that was going to be their touring coach. And it kept leaking fluids and kept breaking down, and they kept missing gigs because they couldn't get to them. And they finally called it Orca, the killer whale. Love trumps hate. Yeah. You know what? I think that video of the murder of George Floyd, it's like the 9/11 thing where you sit there and watch the news and see the planes go through the building over and over and over, day after day after day. And it's just like, it just does something to your consciousness. It's like there's a global anxiety about this. I mean, on top of COVID, it's just really crazy times. And it's really a time to step back and go, what kind of world do we want? And boy, I just found out yesterday, just super bummed me out. There's a drummer I used to play with that I found out is a complete bigot. And some stuff that she posted, I was just like, this can't be right. And so I went to her page to have a look, and I think she pulled the post down, but her responses to other people were like, yep, she said those words. And, she purports to be a hardcore Christian, and I'm going, how does that even happen? Isn't Jesus, his whole thing is about love and taking care of each other and all that? How do you twist that into being hatred and the exact opposite? Anyway, I don't want to go down that hellhole. A couple more questions, and I'm going to hang up for the day. Cindy May, yep. Yeah, it just boggles my mind. I mean, there's days where I'm trying to pull off from the news anyway, but you really can't avoid it completely unless you don't ever turn on the TV, don't talk to anybody, and don't get online. And I kind of have to for the old career, get on the social media. Is the original Washburn it's 100, not 1000, with the signatures and African artwork locked away since it got stolen too many times. I did retire it for a couple of years, and in the meantime, Washburn came out with the parallax model that I'm using now. And so there was a period of time, I don't know, maybe a year, I wasn't even playing it. And I had the opportunity to sell it to a Chinese museum. And they paid me handsomely for it. So it is now locked away in a case on a wall somewhere for other people to enjoy. That thing had the mojo in it, man. It was broken and beat up so many times. And the reason it was a clear finish instead of a painted color is they were built right as the history tour was taken off, and there just wasn't time to put a coat of color on it. Just now that doesn't make sense, does it? Because Pamelina painted the African art on it. I think they were Maasai or Wadabi characters. It was something that I picked up in South Africa. Yeah, boy. My history in my brain is completely inside out, upside down. Anyway, to answer your question, I do not have that guitar here now. How'd you slow down the songs when you didn't have the software? I had a Marantz cassette deck in the 80s, and that had a motor on it that you could slow down. Because it was analog, however, you slow it down and it would change the pitch. So sometimes I would take it from 100% down to an octave. I think you could take it only down a complete octave. So if you did that, if you could still hear the pitches clearly, that was ideal because it was the same notes as the original. So back in my day, that's how you had to do it. Nathan, yeah. There's a first time for everything, my son. What happened to all my old Ibanez guitars? They're all at Hard Rock Cafes. I either sold them outright or there's one that has. Oh, actually, there was one site called Rockstars Guitars where I had a guitar that you might see pictures of. It was like bright, obnoxious green. And I got that. It was sent to me when I was in England. And I remember that very well because I was charged like $300 for import duties. I didn't see that coming. I was like, oh, Jesus, I should have waited. But that guitar got stripped, and there was, this was after the King Tut guitar that was so gorgeous that Pamelina painted, pamelina.com. If you want your guitar painted, that's the way to go. And so I had her do Isis when Isis was cool, you know, the Egyptian Isis, the goddess Isis with an Egyptian scroll on it. And it was a beautiful paint job. That was sold to somebody through that website. But the others, I think I have at least 4 that are in Hard Rock Cafes around the world. What about your question? Michael Jackson, American fandom. I don't know where it went. Oh, here it is. Did Michael wear Bad Tour outfit during Come Together video shoot? I don't remember what he wore. I know he had a t-shirt because it was my job to rip it. they would cut a little slice in it to help me along so that every time I grabbed his shirt, it would rip. And if you look closely at that video, we shot so many times, you'll see that sometimes his t-shirt is here, sometimes it's up here, sometimes it's down there. The Bad Tour outfit. Well, when you say Bad Tour outfit, he probably had at least 5 or 6 outfits that he would change out to during the night. At least different jackets. So I don't know about that. You know, Michael Jackson fans know a lot more details than I do. They've made it their life's work to know what happened, what days. And my brain's just scrambled. What happened to the Forever Dangerous tribute show? Oh, that was a piece of crap. That's what happened to that. It was run by a guy that didn't really have his stuff together. And I remember one time we only did 2 shows. One, thankfully, was in the pouring rain. It was always completely under rehearsed and just a complete panic. We did one in the pouring rain way out in the mountains, and the only people that stuck it out were hardcore fans, so that was okay. And then we did another one maybe a year later that was in Denver on Halloween. And the guy wrote to me when I was on the road, and I thought, man, this is coming up too quick, and there's not enough time to advertise, and what about rehearsals? He assured me we'd have a solid week to rehearse, which that's really not enough to get a show like that with dancers and choreographer, all that. It's not enough time. And here's how disastrous it was. We did have a week, I think, day after day after day after day, there was tech issues. And we didn't get through more than 1 or 2 songs a day. We never ran the entire show before we had the show. And then he said it's one of those things where if you ever hear this as a musician, you should know it's not ever going to happen. Oh, we'll run the show at soundcheck. It's not ever going to happen. Not ever. And the show started. The very first song was a disaster. And computers went down. And so I had to tell stories for 10 minutes. That's how the show started. Uh, and I was so livid. Uh, I didn't even say goodbye to anyone. I just split, and that was the end of it. Yes, Carlos, the red one. Yeah, somebody was asking about stage disasters before. Man, there have been some traumas, uh, and that's when things are out of my control. You know, I was not in control of any of that. I was just going by what I was told, day by day. Just wasn't happening. It wasn't happening, and the anxiety leading up to that was seriously not worth it. Yes, Carlos, the red one. Um, the red. I don't know if you're talking about a guitar of mine or his costume. Do I know Amir, John Haddad, and Martin Miller, great guitar players? I don't. I do not know. You're welcome, Carlos. There was a picture of him wearing the gray outfit of the band tour. See, now you are the archivist. I am just the guitar player that hasn't been on tour since 1997 doing the Jackson thing. How long it took to learn the Beat It solo? Thank you. It took quite a while. I set out to learn it with my Marantz cassette deck, turned it down an octave, and tried to hear. There was so many nuances and techniques that were very new at the time. It really kicked my ass. And so I would set about trying to learn it and give up and try again, and finally got it, and that bought me a house. It's perseverance, children. Yeah. So if anybody's arriving late, I did say I was going to break down the solo and the equipment. I mean, this looks like a TV studio. I got a laptop there, iPhone up there for Instagram, light there. I got a tripod here that's holding an iPad that I never did dial into anything, and a phone over here. It's pretty crazy, and I just couldn't find the equipment I needed, but I will break down the Beat It solo and upload it to YouTube. I will say in the next 2 days, faux show. Roberta, welcome. I can always count on you. I heard that this year's MJ fans will enjoy an official musical based on the life of Michael, who's have decided to grant permission for a musical that will debut on Broadway. It will be directed by Christopher Wheeldon. I don't know anything about it. I talked to the guy. He was a MJ super fan that used to follow us in Europe. I think back in the Bad Tour, and he's behind the one that's in London. I can't remember the name of that. I saw it once, but that'd be. I hope they do a good job. You know, I kind of have an attitude about Michael Jackson shows. Like the one that's in Las Vegas is ridiculously loud, painfully loud. That's a whole other thing I talked about in another live. And it just, I don't know, there's something about it that I just don't dig. It's, I'd probably think it was fine if I hadn't been in the band. But actually, they had two different shows. They had one that was a traveling show, and another one that is called One, that is the residency show. And I first saw the traveling show, that was 8 years ago. I think they might have premiered it in Las Vegas, and I was there doing the Zumanity show for 6 months. And Greg Fillinganes was on it, John Clark from the Bad Tour, I think Don Boyette was on it, maybe Jonathan Moffat. And I really wanted to see him after the show, but there was something about the show that just pissed me off. It just put me in a mood, and I just went home without saying hello to anybody. I mean, the music was great, of course, but just the production of it just didn't do it for me. Social media screens on one screen. Yeah, Crystal, if you can either message me or hit contact on jenniferbatten.com, I could use some info, because I have been looking for tutorials. If you're talking about combining all the chats, uh, I can't find information on it. I can find, some people are talking about Windows and other programs. Oh, the live screens. Yeah, wow, it's a little cluttered. I actually have YouTube over here just to make sure it's live, and then Facebook crashed right before I was supposed to go live. And I've got two Facebook lives running, 2 pages. Maybe that's why it crashed. You're too greedy. You have too many pages. But I only have a 13-inch MacBook Pro, so to combine them all, I would never be able to read them without granny glasses. When I first started doing this, I had a big screen TV, but there's so much crap to set up. For 1 hour of my day, I can't be bothered. Live screens, yeah. Okay. Danny Oliver. Hey, you fun person. Les Bobons. Danny Oliver is a Jackson tribute artist out of the UK that kindly joined me on several shows and traveled throughout the UK to do that. That was a big deal. And we ended up doing a big show in Paris. That was a big anniversary. That was a huge show. Tons and tons of artists and some big name ones too. And Dorian Holley, I remember sang Billie Jean. Dorian Holley was Michael's, I want to say musical director, but director of the singers. He did just a beautiful, beautiful job of Billie Jean. And I went looking for it the other day. I don't know if, I couldn't find a video of it. I thought he had recorded it on a record, but maybe it was squirrel, and I went off in another direction. I feel like half my energy when I'm working online is just trying to focus on what I'm trying to do. Because if a mail comes in, I'm in that direction. Sorry to nag you, but come on, nag me. When you were on stage with Michael at the end of the Beat It solo live, it looked like you were annoyed with each other. Oh, no, that was just play. He wanted me to look like I had an attitude. So I mean, Beat It, the whole song's about being tough, and he gave me a load of crap when I was smiling, so that whole thing was that was my acting career, is what that was. What is this stream about? You're in Wisconsin and you're kind of bored. You're checking in. Well, your timing is a little off because I'm about to hang up on y'all. It's just a chat. It's just talking with people around the world. Always a lot of Michael Jackson fans come in, some Jeff Beck fans, some me fans that are into my records. And I'm just answering questions. That's what it's about. It's interesting because I do repeat subjects from live to live. Just because questions come through, and partly because I can't remember what I have talked about with whom, and I'm doing these. Okay, so this one time, story time Mondays that I drop on Mondays in my YouTube channel, and sometimes I'll be talking about stuff there, and I think, did I already talk about this? So I've had to make a running order of the things that I do talk about so I don't completely repeat myself. It takes a lot of work. We did 2 shows, 2 days. God, I seem to remember that you joined me in a bunch of different shows. Magical memories. And yeah, Julien was with us, my buddy in the north of France that has 2 children now. Can you believe it, Danny? Really good guy. Man, I could tell you stories, but I'm about to hang up. In Switzerland before that. Oh, yeah. There you brought up a memory that I had been trying to suppress for years. Oh, man. These 2 goofballs. They were behind that big Paris show. I don't know how they got in there. Were agents of sorts. They got a hold of me and brought me over to Paris, but they wanted me to do another show that was in Switzerland that we all sussed out after the fact. It was only for them to show me off to his friends. and and it was the stupidest, most awful kind of thing. It was like the Spinal Tap puppet show kind of thing. It was we were to play in a restaurant that, as I recall, I think people were having dinner and they had no interest in the show. So I was doing this multimedia show with tracks. I can't even remember if I could have the films behind me. It was just so lo-fi. The sound man was not prepared for it. He didn't have cables to do anything, and poor Danny is dancing in the dark. It's just like, yes, I do have an attitude. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know how you mean it, but I've had both. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it. I hope I can see you again one of these days. I know your kids are growing, man. It's been years, I think, since I've seen you. The last question. Which song did Michael rehearse most? We rehearsed them all the same. You know, what the thing was, we would get all the songs together as a band, singers together, dancers together. Then we would all come together once everybody knew everything, and we would just run stuff down. If there was a problem or if the choreographer wanted to stage things differently, we would take a break and go over things like that, the staging. But I don't think any song was rehearsed more than others. And by the time we'd take off, we would have quite a few days of playing the entire show a couple times a day. Just getting in those repetitions over and over and over and over. So once you get on stage and maybe you got a little nerves, it's no big deal. You're just up there and you just knock it out of the park. Danny, that's way too many O's. Load of shows in the UK. Julien. Yeah, okay, that's not making sense to me, so I'm moving on. Recently bought every single one of your CDs. You're the one! I really enjoyed them. Thanks for buying the CDs. A lot of people are not buying CDs anymore, or maybe you downloaded them. They're all very, very different from each other. Extremely different, because there was several years between the recordings. The limo ride to the venue. I remember I had a wig that was nasty. It looked awful. It seems like there was a quasi makeup artist for that Paris show, but I wouldn't be sharing those pictures. You never know what you're going to get. I remember I did a pretty major photo shoot in Japan one time for a record, and they hired this makeup artist that worked on me for, I want to say 2 hours. It was forever. And at the end, I looked in the mirror and I'm going, really? That's what you did for the last 2 hours? Looked like a fucking raccoon. It was just awful. And at that point, you don't want to start over. Just get on with it. Okay, just a few more questions on Facebook Live, then I'm going to get about my day. Thank you, Tracy Stepp. Yeah, I'll be playing live. You know, I keep thinking about doing a live show on stageit.com, and honestly, I've been spending so much time clicking a mouse and working on stuff to upload to YouTube. I'm not playing enough, and I gotta get back to it because I got some real shows coming up. All right, I'm gonna go away, and it's gonna take me probably a couple minutes to end. Let's see, I got all these windows. I think I just need to go to the Caster app. Thanks everybody for hanging out. If anybody wants to see this later, I'm going to download it, clip off the awful intro without sound, and put it up on my YouTube channel. And that's how that went. There's another Tuesday. Oh man, I went another hour and a half. How did that happen? That's too long. Man, anybody that stuck around, you get a medal. I want to just keep it to an hour. And I was looking at it coming up to an hour, and I go, cool, just a couple more minutes, and